Hey, got it.
Here we go. Kevin, Claire, I believe we've blast off. We are live on Tube. Thank you for joining me. I'm just going to share this link into a few places if you both of you want to say hello this Monday, the 9th of May.
Hello, everybody. Hope you're well on David's birthday, and many happy returns to him. Hope everybody's all right. I just see us coming up on Tube now. So let's see what's going on. Let's give it a like. Oh, it's all gone wrong.
Yes, hi everyone, and happy born day, birthday. Wonderful day. This brother graced the world with his awesomeness.
Stop it, bless. Back at you both.
Oh, behave. It's embarrassing, Claire. Right. What's happening here? Jerry, evening. I'm just checking when I'm in the right and everything's happening. And oh, look at that. I haven't wasted 3 hours trying to get in there.
All as well, yeah. I'm just put it in Telegram, Facebook, the domain. Stephen might be joining us later. I've let you know. So, and I've sent a link to the admins as well for them to consider if they're free. Bert, Gansters, etc.
Yes, I did briefly. I've kept my eye in Telegram today, in between all my chores.
Oh, have you now?
Yeah, I did. So there.
What do you want? A Blue Peter badge?
Yes, please.
And a Blanty Bank checkbook and pen.
I happened to post a nice Jordan Maxwell old video clip earlier called Word Up. Looking at every time, I suppose. I don't know what you two are like, but when your rotation around the Sun anniversary birthday pops up, you know, you can't, I don't think, help be mentally drawn to at some point just take a little pause and look at where you are, where you thought you would be, you know, and plan forwards and just double check things, as well as you know, most people going out to celebrate. I'm not sure what we're actually celebrating in some respects on that, but I have like a little meditation moment or two, and I'd seen Jordan Maxwell video going around that yeah, it's passed on. You know,
Yeah.
we celebrate life, we celebrate when we're having a birthday, we celebrate us being here and older, wiser, the journey. And I thought we also celebrate the ones that have been here that aren't here, and thank them for wisdom, knowledge, and you know, things like that as well. So yeah, I've not really a topic tonight, just life in general, celebration of life, the quirks of life. You know, we can talk about what we've come to know, the madness, the insanity of Satan's carnival, and you know, we have a joke, a laugh. We'll read the room and say hello to everybody. I have got myself a nice book here, an outline of occult science. I don't know if you'll be able to see the Bonnie picture inside if I just get that up to the
Oh, it's gone into the ether.
there we go, the man himself, Rudolph. Yeah, it says at the backdrop, yeah, you won't be able to see it, but occult science, Rudolf Steiner, Anthroposophic Press, 1923, first edition, for me to be chewing down on.
Nice.
But well, yeah, that's the
Very
thing.
nice.
Thank you. Yes, thread life, life as we know it. Klingons on the starboard bow, empires, life in general. We can keep it light-hearted, and thank you for joining me on my 44th birthday. Yes, everyone, chat room, those on the replay. I think Anders has just entered. Jerry, Claire, Chillstar, Greg, Gansders, Tony. Good evening.
Oh, there he is.
Thank you.
Hattie Jakes.
Hey, Anders.
Hello, mate. You all right?
You're okay, yeah?
All good, mate. Yourself?
I'm fine. I'm fine. And yeah, and as from Sweden, I want to say, ja må han leva, ja må han leva, ja må han leva till 100 år. Hurra, hurra, hurra! Congratulations, baby.
Nice one.
Brilliant. Marvellous. Thank you. That was beautifully sung. You can make money doing that, Anders.
Don't
Thank
think
you.
so.
Good energy.
Anders grams. There you go. Sorted.
Can you get a little bit of yodeling? If that had had a little bit of yodeling in, I think it might almost have been perfect.
He's not Austrian though, is he? Is it Austria that does yodeling? Do they do yodeling in Sweden?
No.
No, it's Astria, because you put chili in your ass, then you're yodeling. Yes. Now in Switzerland, I think it's most famous for the yodeling.
Yeah.
Albert's just joined us.
Oh, I have to flick over a page. There he is.
Yeah, let him see if he's
Connecting.
Evening, guys. I just
Albert.
had drama getting on, so I just travelled back from Peterborough, so I'm going to be in the van for a little bit, and then yeah, so I'm listening in. All right.
All right, mate. Good to hear from you. Be safe.
Always, always.
Good evening, all. All right then. Yeah, we shall begin. We shall chirp away. Anders, Claire, Albert, Calvinius. And thank you for my born day wishes. Just chat about life in general. Hopefully we'll have a little laugh as we go along. Snippets, celebrations of those that aren't with us anymore, that were way ahead of their time for their train of thought, their ethics, morality, and it's coming back round again. Climate change, signalling some kind of reset. The words reset being mentioned, cycles, life cycles, it brings me into the distraction of the Great Reset. That's probably not as important as other issues that are on the table that face us at the minute in life and in our everyday lives and our unborn lineages' lives. But it does seem that there's a lot of reset scenarios being presented out there in the narrative with regards to the temperature of the earth. And when you look back, which experts have done in other places, not me, and they've seen that the earth's gone through heating and cooling periods on its own long time before man was even here. We've got some blame with carbon emissions and gases and that. Commerce has got the blame for that, but then you've got other like resets being mentioned with the last 2 years, especially the WHO, the World Economic Forum, the World Health Organization, the United Nations. So we do see life is, for someone of my age, 44 now, a child of the 80s, life's turned upside down, inside out and on its head. And I think a great deal of us in that age bracket demographic might actually feel the same, as open-minded and as aware and conscious as we are. It's just, yeah, we've got celestial cycles, we've got cycles written in prophecies, we've got Mayan and Bactung calendars telling us certain things, we've got prophets and scriptures of everyday man, Nostradamus, the quatrains, and there's a lot of people looking for navigation, a lot of people that seem to want to anchor down, for want of a better analogy. And I think that the climate issue is a serious issue, but I don't think it's a need to worry as much as we are doing. But it does need to be looked at, yeah. But the cycles, life in general, we all go through that circle, and what we do here with the time that we're here, I think, is the most important. And I think a lot of you guys will do that as well. So to close down and let other people speak and to read the room, the artificial person that we've come to find that we have, is like, if I could explain it like this, is like an employee of the corporation, of the United Kingdom Corporation. So your name, your person, when you see the word citizen, replace the word citizen with employee, and then you will see that they don't always call an employee. So if you agree to be a citizen, a soulless dead entity, then you become wrapped up in the duties and obligations of the trust there that's at play. So I think between us, we all like helping, and what we do here counts with the finite time that we've got. So a United Kingdom or a United States citizen basically means United Kingdom or a United States employee of the corporation, the United Kingdom Corporation, the United States Corporation. So again, equity hasn't got my highest respects, because equity acts in personam, so there has to be a person present for equity to act. It doesn't act on imaginary people or objects, and it doesn't act on man, but in one's proper person, private person. There's different types of person: legal person, and the name that we've come to use, date of birth, surname, are the details for your citizen, and your citizen is basically an employee. And it's not so far-fetched when you look into the word person, where it come from, and the Latin, the roots, the dictionaries, the jurisdictions of which use these words, and what dictionaries they're working from. It's a great time for us to be alive on this movement. I feel proud of what we try to do and how we do it. So we give homage to man like Jordan Maxwell, who's most recently passed, but all of the greats, any of the names that have influenced you, Kevin, or Anders, Albert, Claire, let us know. Make a beeline for the mic in a minute. But Rudolf Steiner, Alan Watt, Nikolai Tesla, more modern, recent, deceased minds amongst present living minds. We've come to know not just law, but the universal side of law, spiritualism. What we've done on our journey, most of us have found that we've been led to different areas in life, areas that we wouldn't think necessarily to give respect to, time to, and we go to research and see about the relevance of how all of this is connected. And it's been a journey of life itself, the circle, the quest for what are we actually questing for. One of the most funniest common questions I get asked is, how do I prove I'm alive, David? How do I prove I'm sovereign? How do I? And it seems silly. It's not me taking the mick, but we have everything we could possibly need except a decent education and knowledge within other foreign languages what are at play with these commercial laws, and people still wondering how they can prove their flesh and blood. So the greatest trick the devil may have played is that mankind in 2022 still doesn't know how to present as a non-legal person, which means they don't know their rights, they don't know who they are, they don't know thyself, and we are like a species with amnesia still, and we have an occupation of foreign territory, foreign lands. We prove everything: corporations, businesses, DUNS numbers, and dictionaries, definitions, historical, renditions from 2,000 years back to prove where we actually are at. And it does get a bit tiresome and it deflates you when you still got people that don't know. Why don't you know your rights? What your basic fundamental rights are at law? What the duties and obligations are of the officers, government, and of the courts and of the fiduciary, and what the civil court practice is, what the pre-action protocols are. Why don't we do civics anymore? Why are we left in this Satan's carnival? So life is precious and life's under attack always. So I've tried to loop as much life in there to set you up while I look at the room, and thank you for joining. Bosh.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I don't know. For like SPLS Pro, now I see a good future here, I see a good future. We can have in loads of members that coming in because they have achieving something, that they don't have to win a court case or something. But they're starting to do something, They put in paper, they're filing stuff. Maybe it's not working, but they're doing something. And that's what needs to happen, People are trying.
Indeed they are. Yeah, we're doing well, we're growing, it's working. We tend to our integrity is strong. Mistakes aren't the end of the world. That's how we learn. I like finding mistakes, and especially if they're repetitive mistakes, even mostly spelling, but years law, what we've done, our positions, our terminology. This is a specialised area, equity and trust, that people in the academic realm study for years with tens of thousands of pounds to become scholarly in. So let alone the world's greatest story, the Bible, toppled on with equity and trust, let alone then with all of the other subject matters and legislation and codified secular law, civil procedure rules, pre-action protocols. It's no wonder, your head and your mind, are running at max capacity. Kevin, what are you doing? Your mic's very loud. I'll just mute you, Kevin. There we go.
It is huge, isn't it? I mean, it still baffles me.
What baffles you?
Cliffhanger.
Artificial pause.
I've asked her to unmute.
Sorry, I had a visitor to my room, which I had to just mute. My mum's here, bless her. So she, so I just muted. Yeah, where was I? What did I say? It's huge, isn't it? It is massive what you've got to unpick and learn, and then the tricks that they play. But equally, it's simple, Like you say, David, we're gods and goddesses. We are of the one source creative energy that's out there. And I think it's time the tides turned and we took back our authority and our power from these systems.
Yeah, that's what we try to do. Knowledge is power, and that's the key, isn't it? Knowing all parties, duties, obligations, the area of law, what you're facing, and with the duties and obligations, and how the due process system works of the commercial law that's at play there. We have a job then separating. Honestly, you can ask questions in a scenario, but it's better to know what level of law you're at, or that you're using for defence, rather than hoping and doing it on a whim. We speak of common law, and we look at the common laws of the land of England and Wales. The United Kingdom has policy and it has rules, and it's a business, it's a corporation, so it only exists as a corporation, and citizens are classified as employees of that corporation. Simple as. Since Mum abandoned the foundation identity document known as the Certificate of Live Birth. So what we found ourselves in is, it's so, what would we say, it's so dark and underhanded and indirect.
Sordid.
Yeah, that they've hidden it in such a way.
Evil.
Yeah, because we have got irrefutable and put things unequivocally where you cannot see anything other than good old plain fuckery. So, like with reference to the King James Bible, the 1611 authorized version, I had to explain once again why we quote that version, and why we've had to look into the Bible references, Mosaic law, going back to Phoenicia and the phonetic Hebraic text and the first 5 books, the Torah. There's linkages on for various reasons. There's uses for their various editions of the Bible, but the present 2022 New World Legal Order has been constructed from the King James Bible 1611 authorized version. So we don't read it because, you know, it's authorized, it has authority. What is authorized? What is someone that's authorized? When you think of an author writes a book and is the author and the authority of that autonomously written article. And authorized, warranted by right, derived from legal or proper authority. So the 1611 King James Bible is literally the legal authority of the legal law of men, aka Mammon, and that's what the present 2022 New World Legal Order has constructed from. And we've given references such as in sections of Matthew where Jesus will say, any more, wherever there are 2 or more gathered in my name, there I am in the midst of them. 2 witnesses at law make a fact, 2 testimonies, 2 affidavits, 2 sworn statements, etc. Make facts. So we've come to learn to become more estranged from the traditional concepts of common law, harm, injury, loss, and not recognising that equity and trust was fused into the common law in the 1800s, and it was a secret private remedy that only the elite barristers and hoi polloi and educated Harvard, Eton, Oxford, Cambridge, etc. types, the business directors and the aristocracies, bloodlines and lineage, got taught the extra curriculum, because they'll be the ones going out there running the commercial realm, investing the families millions and billions on these markets. So it is, you know, it's a long old journey that of systems, institutions that overlay us. Yeah, and we've done well with the articulation and leaving the common law, as I've said, but still recognising what common law is, and precedents and rulings and case law, case and point references, previous and present, and it's going and separating like we have done, and putting our money where our mouth is as well, time after time, and proving to give help when we can, information, documents, videos, testimonials, and making ourselves publicly available to, like Kevin has, Claire has, Albert, anybody, brother Stephen, if he joins us later, he's done a fantastic effort of late. This knowledge that we all have, if we all keep sharing it, will eventually come back full circle, and the truth will be known. It'd be an idea for us to have a talk about a political party where we had as our manifesto the things that we would talk about, exposing the bills of exchange and currency and money, the truth about it, exposing the control that London's corporate city has and the corporation, the UK of GB, looking at the educational curriculum, looking at, you know what I mean, getting the truth about registration, money, you know, actual education sorted out again. I think people would have a field day, wouldn't they?
Oh, excuse me.
You're excused, brother. You are excused. Like Jordan Maxwell says, you know, the words, the spelling, the way
Yeah,
to look at this, they don't use them by chance. They mean each and every word there. So there is a you know a carefully crafted game of those in the craft that have tapped into our energy, made us corporate surety for these debts that we see flying around. So we've tried to focus on when people try and write a notice and they put at the beginning of it, I, the flesh, living, breathing man or woman. Me and Kevin was having a chat the other day, and we said that it puts the reader off, and it could cause the reader, depending on their office, to have the thought that you might not be mentally stable, because it would be a given for everybody to be living and breathing. You know, a general receptionist, attendant, an agent doesn't know about the straw man, you know, legal person, and the separation of, you know, for sovereignty, you know, self-governing one's own master. So an agent would be inclined to refer the notice you've written, I, the flesh, the blood, the living, the breathing man, woman, and all of this, sovereignty or not, can easily be sorted out is when we signed them off, and we put the actual separation from the person with an autograph, and then details of the actual autograph, who that autograph is by, what position and title, you know, that affixed autograph an office has. Public, private capacity, etc. So, Kevin, can you remember that conversation we had? Something like that, was it?
yeah. I'm just trying to think. It wasn't that long ago, was it?
Yeah, people have put in
um,
living, breathing, and we said it can be fixed on the sign off, was the
oh
encapsulation.
yeah, yeah. Basically, you know, and I think what you've got to realise is, I mean, a lot of the people that are fine doing that, they're doing it at the level, you know, they're writing to some twat in an office, or some that's who's going to open it. I mean, you're sort of setting the tone of how things are going to go, because somebody reads that, the first line, it's all written in red and everything as well. And the first line is, I'm the flesh and blood and blah, 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 blah. Because the normies out there, they're just going to think, oh, I got another one. I bet they've got the wall of them somewhere. They just stick them up the wall. Another one here, the wall of Freeman. So yeah, it's say we do all that in the sign off. You don't just write to them normally. Sign off as in your correct positions. There's no need to be doing all of that. As I say, if you would just put yourself in the position of just opening up one of those letters that's now 5 or 7 pages long, and it starts off with "I'm flesh and blood and living," and the woman and the man, and I mean, I don't think I don't think it's a good start. In the right areas and at the right levels, fair enough. But the people you're doing that to at this, you know, at the, should we say, the average level, which is, you know, utilities or whatever it might be, they just don't get it, and you know,
It's
you'll
not
get tarred
pertinent
with
to
the
it.
nutter
It's not.
brush.
We've learned when we talk about changing the terminology and changing our rules to play the game. We've learned to hold the cards close to the chest there as well. So it's more about getting job done, business done, bish bash bosh, you know, clear and simple, and then signing off as we've come to not sign, which is now autograph, but it's known as a sign off, and how you sign off with or without liabilities, and with the words separated for the position that you hold within the relationship.
I think as well, it's also, I mean, I'll give you a giggle. So in court earlier, while I was trying to challenge the judge for not accepting my power of attorney that's obviously been lawfully created, I can't remember what he said, but he said, I don't have the authority, I don't have the right or something. And I said, what, as a living woman, I don't have the right to something like that. Anyway, he said, we're not going to argue the toss back and forth. And a dead person would struggle to have right to speak in this court. And I thought, oh, you they're just. But anyway, there's that aside, apart from the whole, I think the other thing we forget is that it's not living, breathing or anything. When you listen to, there's that Anna somebody, Bureaucracy, the lawyer. I was listening to one of her talks and she was going through the Magna Carta and the Charter of Liberties. And she was reading it out, and it says that the men, spiritual and temporal, and of course we've got the House of Lords, that's spiritual, and then the Lord's temporal. So spirit as in we've got spirit, temporal as in time. So I think that's, again, what they do is, don't they?
Claire's got another visitor. Yes, they mimic the Bible. They think what they do is they mimic the teachings of Scripture. They mimic like equity abhors a vacuum, whereas teachings from whom said nature abhors a vacuum was Aristotelian type of thinking there. So nature bonding, you know, bonds themselves, bid bonds. You bond something when you build glue. A baby bonds with its mother. So again, nature is mimicked. Insipidly, citizenship, birthed a ship when it's parked up and it's on the docks is birthed. It sits in its berth. When it appears in a port and it is tied up, they get the cord and tie it off and they dock it, then that's birthed. It's sitting in its berth.
The cabin's a berth as well. It's how many it sleeps in a cabin.
Oh, yeah.
When you sleep on a ship, yes, it's a 2-berth or a 4-berth cabin, although that's a BER. Yeah, sorry, I did have another visitor. So what I was saying is what they do is they separate things, don't they? Everything's fragmented. So we get, it's a jigsaw puzzle, we've got to put it back together. So we're spiritual and we're temporal. So we've got spirit and we're within time. And I think that's one of the things that we're maybe missing sometimes, is that when we put these things that we're living, breathing or whatever, it's the temporal and the spiritual that I think is relevant to include as the, you know.
Yeah, there is a lot of the soul, the spirit, what's going off, the teachings, the civilization of man, and when we was civilized, how long has man has allegedly been on this planet according to the Bible, and the story of Genesis, and how long man has been on this planet according to independent, freelance archaeological works and discoveries that are not got big businesses involved behind them, independent, alternative science sources saying that we are possibly billions and millions, and man's been around for a good so many 100,000 years and BC. So it's all there, you know. The truth is, as they said on the X-Files out there, it is kind of baffling in a way, and it does take a lot of us to get together to be able to help one another out, correct mistakes, highlight errors and omissions, and tweak it and continue on with this. It's a dark occult area, which is why I'm interested in Manly P. Hall, H.P. Lovecraft, Aleister Crowley, occult sciences in ways. You know, there's things like on YouTube tests that Greg was on about, or he's seen something somewhere, and a documentary on YouTube was showing you that if you read this video script, green sentence or the red sentence, they were slightly different, but you was to listen to some audio on a video, and depending on whether you read the red sentence or the green sentence would be what you heard from that audio. But there's only one audio track playing, so it was either the red or the green. But if you're reading the wrong words, and your mind can be easily manipulated and tricked into, and we're in a reality which we are authentic sentient beings, but our mode of control is words. Words stimulate us, words direct us, words control us, words feed us. If you think about it, if we didn't have the language area, why I fixate on language, and why we should fixate on language, and why, as Jordan says, words are very important, and the words that we hear and the way that we interpret them can be very misleading. We can be tricked very easily, and we've learned to communicate very well and we look out for the tricks and traps of these styles and languages and capital letters and certain things. It's been yeah, and if it didn't matter, then why would they be that way, you know? So the devil is in the details again. Little underhanded, non-direct tricks, and everything you're doing is in a legal capacity, but none of us are legally trained. We've effectively been working as an employee for a corporation, and none of us have ever been paid. You know, the United Kingdom Corporation has made billions and trillions of profits in capital gains for this corporation that that runs the landmass England. You know, and none of us have ever had a wage packet from that. We've gone out and worked. Speaking of Jordan, the ghost of Jordan Maxwell's coming and pardon me, trying to make a joke, forgive me. Yeah, so we've never actually been paid for that. You think about the equitable, when we talk about equitable relief, and people think, well, where is this equitable relief coming from? The gold in the Vatican? It would come from the capital gains that the corporation known as the UK of GB or the United States Incorporated, you know, has made, or whatever country you reside in, which is a business. You know, so life in general, learning, living, occult sciences, manipulation. You know, it's quite incredible the times that we live in, and you know, none of us really knew that we had a person. Like when you're a little child and mum or dad catches you for being naughty, if you was a family with siblings and you was the eldest like me, naturally you blame one of your little brothers or sister. I was never caught doing anything wrong. It was always, you know, how it goes. You blame your family or your brothers or sister instead to try to evade the liabilities of a flip-flop back in the day, or a fist in the 80s as it was from a drunken boyfriend of mum's. So you got to fight for your life. But nowadays, when we've grown up and you get caught for something, you can consider saying it wasn't me, it was my person. We're finding out that we're not persons, and what souls are, and corporations, souls, and souls of the foot, and then the soul and the spirit, and the actual entanglement we find ourselves in. We all know something's wrong, and we all know that we need to find a way, to universal, correct remedy, you know, non-sectarian, so we can all get out and it works for everybody. If it's not good for one, it's not good for all. And it's getting to that point where I think we're all getting a little bit old and tired, aren't we? In those respects as well. I yield.
It isn't just the words, though, is it? It isn't just the words. I'm going to read you, and this is from that. What's she called? Hang on, I'll tell you. Anna du Boisseret, so she's a British lawyer, ex-military, gave this, I think it must have been Hyde Park or somewhere, giving this speech about common law and our rights and stuff. So I'm going to read it, and I'm going to show you what I mean. So it's not necessarily just the words. No free man shall be taken or imprisoned or disseized of his freehold or liberties or free customs, or be outlawed or exiled or any otherwise destroyed, nor we will not pass upon him nor condemn him, but by lawful judgment of his peers or by the law of the land. We will see to no man, we will not deny or defer to any other man either justice or right. Okay, so that's how she said, she sort of said it, she didn't say it like I've just said it, but with emphasis that it was some amazing, wonderful thing that was in the Magna Carta, that no free man shall be taken or imprisoned. Of course, then when you go to bloody Black's Law and you see what a free man is, it's some political civil thing. And it's one word, it's not two words. So it's also the intent, and that's what they do with their doublespeak. It's that emotion that they put in it, because words are sound frequencies, the shapes, the sounds, the vibrations of the cells and the water in our body. And it has an impact on our physical sense. It has an impact on the brain chemistry that gets released from the energetic tone that someone speaks in, and the force or the anger, and then what that does to us. So it isn't just the words. I think it's also the how those words are delivered, which is how they trick us, because they deliver it with a sort of positive spin when it's a load of bollocks, really. I think that's where we kind of get lost with the brainwashing and the spell casting, because the ego, the unconscious part of us, feels the sort of intent and the emotional flow of it, rather than the conscious part discerning what each word means on its own.
Yeah. Yep. Excuse me, I'm on the move. Now you're speaking our language. Come on.
Do you want
We're there,
me to
guys.
sing something while we are waiting?
Well, yeah, have a read of the room. We'll check the room. We'll check the comments out. See what Kevin's got to say. Have a chat amongst yourselves. So it's good to bounce with the room. See what the scribes are saying.
Yeah.
I've
Listen here.
landed indoors, so go on, Anders, go on.
Yep.
And just sat out
I
under
have
the
some friends.
chems.
Oh, go on, Kevin. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah. I have some friends in America, and their children have been taken from them. And they have been put into a jail for making attempt to contact their children, like phone calls, for example. And they are put into medical care. So it's forced care. So they keep them there and they medicate them pretty hard too. And they don't let them have any contact with them. So how would that be a good way to come through this problem? Do you have any tip for that? Because maybe some of these people, they're going to watch this show now. I've been sending them some links.
We probably need a bit more info on why this has occurred.
Yeah, I can say like this. This is people who is fighting against this child care that are taking their children from them.
Yeah, like our social services do here.
Yes, and then they are giving the custody to the father that is an abuser often, and yeah, and they are really going hard on this woman, you know. They are really going hard on them, and yeah, and this is high up in this. Yeah, with the problem with the child raping and all that. So it's really sensitive stuff. So they're putting in so much effort to stopping them, to silencing these women.
Yeah,
I think it's hard in America, isn't it? Because they've got, if they're citizens, they're not nationals, they're not actually American. So it's, I suppose, similar for us being UK, but not England. There's only so many states, I think, left, isn't there, where you can actually be, you know, a national from the Republic of America rather than actually the US.
The United States of Corporation.
Yeah. I think it is possible to be a national, but there's a different process, isn't there?
Yeah, it's slightly different over there, but I mean, it's again this family court shit that goes on and all that. Absolutely satanic it is, what those people do, and it's a hard fight. But you go, you know, they've taken their property. That's their children that have been taken unlawfully, I would say, but it's going to be a harder fight in the States. There's lots of things you can say and do, whether they'll gain you any traction, I don't know. You need a lawyer really over there more so, but you need them to take direction. But they're all part of the same gang. This is the problem.
Yes, and if you're going to have use of one of these lawyers, then you have to pay them good money, because the other one, they won't help you, you know? Yeah.
It's the same.
Hospitals and military installations as well.
Yeah, I mean,
they're even part of a medical military installation. You're effectively going up against a division of the army, which have got the custody of humans to medicate until they get them better. So that's these is always double hard, much like the council tax subject of many people, or taxes in general, temple taxes. Against temple tax, hospitals are the next awkward department of agency working in collaboration with the corporation of the United of but like Kevin said, more details would need to be known, but the basic premise is the same. Yeah, and we classify our blood as property at law.
Yeah. The problem is at the moment, as is usually the case, the bastards have got the assets.
Possession, I mean, it's not 9/10 of the law, but it is a common,
This is, they've got the leverage, haven't they? You see, and yeah, I don't know what the system's like. I don't think. I think it's comparative to here, if not slightly harder. So yeah, we need a little bit more backstory. Obviously, we're not discuss that now, but we get a bit more backstory to understand why it's occurred, because there may be angles there as well. Just sort of this has happened, they've got them is a bit too vague. No disrespect, but yeah, that it needs a bit more info to be able to give it more input. If you see what I mean.
You know what I could do? I could arrange one video chat on the Telegram, and then we are recording that one. We can put it out on YouTube too. And then some of these people, they can come and explain what problem they have there, So, because I think it is really like this. We have a great knowledge. All of us know something special, and I think, can we help some of these guys over there too? That's brilliant. It's brilliant if we can that, and it will only take like an hour to two. Just a video meeting, and we can talk about it, give them tip or information and things, or how we see it.
Good of you wanting to help, Anders. And as with always, there's a rudimentary process that you go through, and that's looking and analysing the due processes that have been applied, people's duties and obligations, claims that have been made, who the claims were made by, whether there's supporting evidence for the claims, all these kind of things is still the same process, even with another continent's penal code system. We have to go through the same meticulous process from A to Z as it would be over there.
Yeah, need the story to plan a route and know what, as Dave just said, what the claims are, claims against them, reasons for the removal, reasons for the detention, whatever. And yeah, has the procedure been followed? Is it heavy-handed, etc.? But it's a long road.
That's why we should all not be registering. Not registering and giving away. And essentially, what does that make them? They're stateless, really, because you haven't registered them into the system they was born into. So, for me, that's how that Rishi Sunak's missus was getting away with the taxes, because she's stateless, because she doesn't belong to this state. So, basically, paying the taxes, they're just latching onto her. But now she's signed up, they've done something. So, yeah. But that's that I think It's the total way to get away from it all, isn't it? Like not be registered and allowing them, really, because many with social services take them on their word and allow them to do certain things when realistically the block should be put up and your services are not required. Yeah. And proof of any claims that they're making. Yeah. But we do, yeah. Obviously, you need more info to what's gone on and who's come and taken them. Yeah.
That was a strong entrance, Bert. That was a strong entrance. I like that. Well said. And informant on any birth registration document we've seen, there is always a box that says informant. And in an evidence-based scenario, one telling a tale on a criminal, someone who's done a criminal deed, or informing somebody of an event that's happened of interest, publicly, privately, criminally, whichever way, you are informing somebody of the details of the particulars of the claim. You inform, you give up, you gave me up. What did you do? You grasped on me, you informed on me. There's lots of terminologies for it, but you've all heard of them, and we're all aware of what it is to inform or to be informed. And on the birth certificate, Mum is the informant. So we don't just recognise the plight of man as it is to exist lawfully in a legal fucking alternative paradigm of dark black's law and black magic, and the judge even wearing the black is like the referee wears the black in the game when a game's played on a court. What does the ref wear? Wears black. They wear black. It's dark arts. They use tricks, non-direct, and they seem to think it's all right because we are what they call ignorant. But yes, the informing part, to inform, is to give somebody up. So when you register, a mum's classed as the informant. Those that are still stumbling over the conceptualizations that we have and the reasons that we say why we say, and the articulation of that, and even down to going to the Births, Deaths, Marriages Act and looking at the interpretation of birth and finding out that birth includes stillbirth, meaning that birth is excluded, and corporations are soulless, dead entities, and our persons are corporations. Our way of doing business with this is from that registration, and a citizen is essentially meaning employee. If you're a citizen of, you're an employee of, and therefore you're bound into it by this non-direct. We didn't have first-hand knowledge. We was all babies when we got registered. We didn't have a say in it ourselves. It wasn't an act done by our own hand, when we are looking at the corrections of this. But registration, the key word on that document is informant, and just think, what is mum informing of? And if you're doing something and you legally and you don't know you're doing it, is it then a legally binding agreement? Because if two parties are entering into a legal agreement and only one of the two parties is legally competent, then the other party that was not legally competent, that signed that contract agreement unknowingly, yes, which was detrimental to them to sign, had they had the effective legal competence, knowledge, know-how and capabilities to understand what they was doing and to understand, then they might not have signed that as it was and may have made some alterations and some protests about the terms and conditions, which were non-disclosed at the time of presentation and signing. So there's hidden terms and conditions, that are not given to you. So there's reasons to celebrate life though as well. It's not all doom and gloom because of where we're at, what we're doing, how we do it, what we back it up with, case law references, biblical quotes, and all of the other supplementary information that's been needed for so long.
Yeah, no, it was because I think we have to kickstart Wednesday's chat in a way, and then so people, they can start to talk to each other about the problem. So we have like a video chat or something for the members. And then we can take up different problems, different cases, like we started with it once, actually.
Yeah, we will. And there's more jobs. But yeah, we'll touch base and chats more regular. Yeah, we do need
But the
to.
trouble with taking on cases, sometimes you don't get the full story, and then behind it was a waste of time because you haven't had full disclosure. When you're trying to help someone.
Yes, but I don't mean that we're going to take the cases. It is like somebody coming there, they are telling about their problem. And then we can talk about their problem, how the possibility, how to do stuff, but not involve more than have a discussion about how to tackle a problem like that.
Gotcha.
And then people coming in that have some experience, and they tell about their experience. So we are not giving legal advice or anything, and we don't take any cases, but we can help people to communicate about it.
Talk about properties, title rights to properties, duly inform you. You get duly informed. And like we've said, those that don't know their rights or defend their rights or assert themselves, it's not vexatious, it's not argumentative. All are equal in front of the law. Equality is paramount. So we have to look at the enforcement of, and officers don't clerk courts. They don't like to be questioned, and not often will you get a judge, a banker, a referee, a rogue that's willing to play the game, because the problem we have with all of this is that these courts, whether they're London, or outside of London in a major city, are all seemingly seated in London, and they're in the corporation, the Crown of London, and they are all oathed to one another to do business for that corporation. So it's a sticky old mess where we have to try to be honourable in a dishonourable environment, and come in with and do the teachings of the great mystic Jesus. There, he was in the right, but still they crucified him. It doesn't always mean, stories don't always have a happy ending. Sorry to use that as an analogy to our plight and situation, but there isn't always a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, and it's just confusing times, but it doesn't need to be. There are some basic shields that you can learn to put up, and there is a pathway over the years of us doing this, and us seeing the questions that are asked, how to defend against the tax, the Satan's carnival, feeding on the low-hanging fruit of the essentially illiterate, and the illiterate part is reference to what legally is going on, what the other parties' legal obligations are, what when processes and claims for money come in. There is a specific set of rules for money claims. When people are making claims, there is a specific rules to make sure that the claim that people are making is evidence, factual, backed up, and permissible as actual evidence, and is genuine, because quite often it isn't. So we've learned to analyse all of the governing architectures surrounding the pre-action and then forward into mitigation, possibly leading up to litigation, and looking at the various stages that we come to find stuff within. And it is a learning curve for us all, but quite often you will find that the crux of your success is solely based on your ability to pay attention to detail, work through the subject matter, know your area, and know what is expected of both parties, and the rights, the titles, the duties, the obligations, the processes and failures and ignorances and breaches, and things that can't be proven due to the practice directions, then often halt the whole proceedings, don't they? So technicalities. But the due process is part of the civil procedure rules ruling. So,
but if you read this chat here on the YouTube video, there is an Alex coming in, and I think that is the woman from United States, and she put the question here: would a matter sign as grantee or grantor?
You've got many ways of looking at this. Not signing anything would be one option. Let's go through them all. Signing normally would be another option, and you're ignorant to what's going off, but still. When you see somebody says sign, what do they mean by sign? Signing what? So we need some more clarity on what you would sign as grantee, grantor, because in trusts, if you understand trust, then the positions within the triangle relationships between the three parties is the settlor or grantor is at the top part, which is putting the property into trust. And then you've got the trustee and beneficiary positions at the bottom corners, and they both then have different title rights split to them, because that's what trusts essentially do, split the title rights to property. So that's trust talk with regards to positions within the trust and those reasons for that. So yes, settlor, grantor would be a way of providing a legal signature, and then I'd put David or Alex all lowercase. Then you've essentially corrected the title, for which, you know, you've got to be careful, because it depends what document or what you want to put there, because you could use canons, UCC, settlor, grantor. You know, you could argue it's mixed jurisdictions, but easily canons because of the Seta KV and the rulings there, you see. So we got possible canons in the Lex Mercatoria Commercial Admiralty Maritime Law at play in a legal realm, you know, using Roman English, not American English, not English English, and in that Roman English there's Latin and legalese mixed in, boxes, corners, it's all a bit yeah, so it depends, but you would look at positions and titles and rights, and signing anything should be seldom done, because the signing is your way of saying that it's endorsed and it's a legal instrument. So what are you endorsing legally, and what is that instrument? And if you want to sign with full public liability, you sign with a signature that begins with a capital letter. And if you want to autograph and retain and reserve all rights, unalienable rights, then you would autograph and just do it all little letters lowercase. You can do it in a trust scenario where you've got the paperwork set out and for the trust deed and so forth, and you've put yourself down as settlor, grantor, or with reference to yourself within various trust administration that's going off. So you'd look at this as some trust administration within the public trust that we see operates, where we're the co-beneficiary, co-trustee at different times. So to correct that, yeah, that's a valid way to start, especially on the certificate of live birth, and then obviously leading up to the birth certificate. Asking for full disclosure is always an option. You know, there's all this speculation and subrogation of evidences and tangible facts. It's all been a little bit hearsay, Freeman, common law, Magna Carta. You know, we needed some actual substance, form, reference, articulation. Whenever you're going to go to a party and say, hey up, I'm alive, you owe me my birthright, my claim of right for the capital gains that the United Kingdom Corporation of the UK of Great Britain has made, considering me as a citizen, ergo employee of said corporation. I believe that there is somewhat, somewhere, due to the writings of the Bible and the swearing of the Bible at the Queen's coronation under oath, where we gave her our sovereignty, I believe when I come to you and tell you this, there is some kind of equitable relief of which I am now duty bound to claim. And it's that part where we say, people often ask, where does this remedy come from? Where is the money? Is it the gold in the Vatican? Well, no, yes and no. It would come from one, going from moving the public trust, that is the name, the date of birth, the surname, the birth certificate, the straw man, the artificial person, all of the above. You know, moving that from the public to the private, and by doing so, that certificate is like a ticket to a share in a company. So that's your citizen, your person, and it works in the United Kingdom of Great Britain. So when we talk about moving in an estate administration with regards to the possible surety and bondage that's going on for the connection to the national debt, to the private banking cartel, the Bank of England, that prints money and lends it, the government, and obviously wants something to guarantee. Some securitization is what it's called. It looks like there is some kind of Professor Richard Werner and others studies, you know, the creation of the fiat currency, the Mandrake money system, Jekyll Island, removal of gold standards. It goes way up. It bears up. Everything that we've come to find is to a lateral thinking person, a mind, soul, a logical, the only logical, one of the only logical ways of how this is being capitalized on, you know, to get our energy. And there's a lot to look at to correct. But when you go to make the claim, you've got to have a watertight argument and have all of the evidence and the burden of proof lying on the claimant. So as much as it might sound a beautiful picture against Nasara Jasara and other such homegrown grassroots remedies that the internet, secured party creditor, Freeman on the land, sovereignty movement in general is offering, you've got to really be able to competently say what the problem is, who has created the problem, how the problem's been created, where all the evidence is, and what the possible remedy is for that. Those that create the problem are duty bound to correct and make amends there. So life is precious, life is crazy, the whole world is like a stage, and we've got quite an articulate and beautiful way of laying claim, which isn't conjecture or speculation or hearsay, and irrefutably then requiring the claim, the birthright, which would be the energy and mineral resources that the United Kingdom has made, profited on. And that's where your equitable relief remedy would come from. That birth certificate would be cashed in for, because it represents a sole share, one share within the United Kingdom corporation. I yield. Is everyone still here?
Yeah, I'm just looking for the quote that I was going to read about being free. It's
I got hospital release papers. It says "Born Living, well done to Camon." That's a rare document to have, but nowadays they're doing it, and there's a reason why they do separate that, and as it says in the Births Interpretations Act, birth includes stillbirth. So certificate of live birth is a bit of an oxymoronic statement, because it's certificate of live death, because death's included in there. So again, when you pass, a coroner has to then write a death certificate for you, for the estate to be managed, and sometimes babies don't make it, and that's like the death certificate is still written there. They still go on as if it's the product has been delivered, the item, the inventory. Really, you'd think sometimes there's no need to go with all the paperwork and the issues at hand, but it's just the formalities that we see that are quite insane. Well, you found it, Claire.
Yeah, so free man, someone who enjoys all of the civil and political rights belonging to the people under a free government. Someone who is not a slave, a member of a municipal corporation, who possesses full civic rights.
Civic, there's that word again.
Yep,
I've mentioned civic.
The right to vote. And there's another one, hang on.
I see Burns in the house. Paul, I think I've said hello to you lot before. Came on, yeah.
Evening, I see Lisa was in earlier. Said she's looking after her mum. So
hello, Lisa.
Love to
James.
Lisa, James, and Lisa's mum, of course. Hope everything's okay. All the way out there in the wilds of Alaska.
Chippy Paul. Wendy. Hello,
You know,
Wendy.
so free, Meet said, and this is Black's law, having legal and political rights, enjoying political and civil liberty, free citizen, free populace, not subject to the constraint or dominion of another, which is impossible because obviously we've got natural law being higher than us. Enjoying personal freedom, emancipated, free person, characterized by choice rather than compulsion or constraint. But again, it's still relating to the system, isn't it? Because at the end of the day, if we're a Christian nation and you say that to be free is you're not restricted by any dominion, then you're disputing the Bible, aren't you? You're disputing that authority, that there is dominion over you. And then when you go to Black's law and look at what dominion says, it says Roman and civil law, absolute ownership, including the right to possession and use, a right of control over property that the holder might retain or transfer. Oh, sorry, that's dominion, not dominion, sorry. Control, possession, sovereignty, dominion over the nation, foreign dominion.
Yeah, the word free born is mentioned in the New World Testament in the KJV. Man is mentioned as free born. Free man is tainted to some extent because of their limited terminology and the ways. I'm not saying they haven't been effective, but their movement has got a limited amount of steam and motion due to how the knowledge base that they operate from, essentially. A lot of movements have got a limited capacity until they learn to grow and correct and reach out and expand, such as even the mighty likes of Winston Shrout and allegedly what may or may not have happened to him and possibly getting locked up for secure party creditor claims going wrong. By that, it essentially looks like he may have mentioned man as the creditor when the other instrument and documents would have been creditor, and movements have a limited amount of steam. Yeah. What you've got, what you're mentioning, and what we're looking at is is hard to always get your head around and how best to use it. But the terminology, we look at all the languages, the Church, the Black's Law, the Oxford, Latin, Old Latin, Ancient Latins, things like this, and we have to interpret the jurisdiction, what's speaking to us there as well. But in their society, those rules only apply to individuals that are in their society, their legal society. Those books, laws, codes, regulations are part of the law society, whereas we're in our own society. And if English law recognises that two witnesses make a fact, if somebody was to have powers of attorney signed over to them and there was two independent witnesses who were meant to look at this instrument being executed as the deed knowingly, with full competence in front of two independent impartial witnesses, and they wish that deed to be executed as a deed and it's satisfied all of the areas of law, then there's no reason, just because it hasn't gone to an office or been notarized in a legal institution, that isn't a legally binding document and deed. Witness to attest to qualify to the parameters of the qualities for English courts and law system to acknowledge when we tell, or we've said we have assigned the estate power of attorney to, for various reasons. The one reason courts and the judiciary and the legal arm of the London Law Society don't like to hear those words is because they have implied rights and titles and positions within constructive trusts that they've positioned us in by us being considered an employee of the corporation, by being a citizen or claiming the name, date of birth, surname, particulars, and the person with full public liability. It's again the game, the rules of the game. All we've done is found out a few particulars that have become useful and of common public interest to a lot of us, and when you apply them, when you know them, there are certain elements of laws of protection and dropping in levels of fear that are quite beneficial to all man and woman, I think. Would you say not? Yes. Powers of attorney, removing the implied positions, misconstrued relationships that you think of: beneficiary, trustee, and the settlor, grantor, principal, donors. There's all kinds of different words for different types of trusts and positions within the trust. It's not just settlor and grantor, testator, donor, you know, and there was positions at play that aren't always honourable, and your ignorance, our ignorance to certain facts, have impeded us from going forward, but we're slowly learning to bolt on more layers of protection, you know, and there are benefits to look up the Office of Public Guardians and see about them regarding powers of attorney. Much like a last will and testament, as long as the will is witnessed by two independent witnesses that aren't beneficiaries of the will, then that will and testament is a lawfully binding document under the common laws of England and Wales. So it's, you know, what we do in our private capacity, we must learn to employ, that we are not bound by the codes, the statutes, the London Law Society's language, rules, codes, obligations. Our person is, our citizen is, and then we use our own private methods and avenues, which would be to reference sections of the King James Bible and use that for articles defence back to them. Use canons if you think it would be appropriate to use the Vatican City's own language, depending on who you're speaking to and what you want, and ecclesiastically they would be perfect. We've come to learn to use quite a lot of articulation and the right place to use certain things, and we can see that there is modifications have been needed over the last year or two, and it's slowly getting to somewhere where it's looking like we might win the race.
I tell you what, if it wasn't for the fact that it was, you know, ex's property thing I was dealing with today, I would have gone all out and tried every blooming possible phrase and to have, you know, fought back. Even if it meant I got thrown out of the court, I wouldn't have minded. I was quite enjoying being a bit challenging, even though it didn't get me anywhere. But I would have probably been a little bit more, yeah, I probably wouldn't have, you know, maybe backed down as quick. I would have asserted my dominion, my authority a little bit harder. Next time, round 2.
This is it. Yeah, and if you've got various avenues there of enforcement rights, due process, when cases are of a certain value, yeah, they do get tracked, and then there are limitations of courts, and courts don't always have the jurisdiction in which to hear cases of that value or of equitable nature and matters. There are various reasons why you can try to contest, and there is issues we have there with failure to be recognised when we want to go in and as a layman and not accept state afforded presentation like a duty solicitor. I'm a big fan of just telling them that we are allowed equal rights at law. One is allowed to represent self, the parties involved, you know, pro se, suri juris propria persona, put oneself in one's proper person, and if they're not legally trained and they don't speak Latin, then that's seldom our problem. What they need to, you know, recognise, and the paperwork court bundle you've hopefully prepared will be with them for them to refer to. So again, it's not clear cut, but any self-respecting referee, judge, rogue, arbiter, civil administrative hearing would need to adjourn and get au fait familiar with what the claims and rebuttals and counterclaims are, and conditional acceptances of offers, and you know, breaches of, and default positions. That's everything's there, and you know, it's if they choose to proceed, then yeah, they shouldn't have, and they've got no right, and they're railroading, they're gatekeeping.
He refused to give me his Christian name. He only gave me his district judge Stone. That's it. No proper full, identifier so we can figure out.
A mason, eh? A mason. Stone. Masonry.
You need a bloody stone, and he did.
What
Evil man.
what word follows stone,
Box in the head.
everybody? Stone masonry, that's right. Judge Stone Mason. Oh bless, I'm only messing. Yeah, it's up to us to be able to go through the motions and hold them to account, have a looked at, tell the court they've made a mistake. If they failed, then no court's decisions are final. Quite often miscarriages of justice are not caught in the first instance, and it takes a long battle for one to actually get errors corrected, because they run the show. They've got the venue, the business venue, and businesses have venues, and they're not strictly the places we think. They're civil administrative. There's no victim, so common law hasn't been breached, and quite often paperwork would be the best way to always deal with these issues for summonsing of persons to places to do business. And when they don't want to introduce, before you do business with anybody, it's custom and practice, to introduce yourself, and whatever you're doing out in the private, if you're doing business, we're all brought up correctly by mum, and to use our manners. And then you go to a place which you deem to be a legal place of authority and jurisdiction, and they don't have basic manners. There's something amiss right there. Just that's as real as it gets. You think with all this knowledge and all that money, you shouldn't have a care in the world. You could throw shit at me and I'd laugh at you. Do you know what I mean? That's how the character I would have if it was just right and proper. But the basic evasive maneuvers that they play, not answering direct questions, and assuming and forming opinions, and getting angry and shouting and losing. When you shout, you've lost the argument, you've raised your voice, you've let emotions take over, you're going down a dark path. So or they're just doing it to disrupt our train of thought, so to deviate us or to stumble us, and then interrupt that train of thought, and your argument falls down. There's very many kind of different ways of looking at it, but either way, it's not fair, it's not just. And always remember the basics. I do not understand these proceedings. There's always a little golden nugget that is sometimes, because stand under authority, what we're saying. I do not. And when they're about to issue or grant or decree and finalise by the banging of the gavel, etc., they might ask the questions, and it's quite pertinent for them to ask. It would be honourable and correct and moral, ethically correct for them to say, "Do you understand?" before, and then you can always quickly slip in, "No, I'm sorry, I haven't got a Scooby-Doo. What's going on here, Governor? You've clearly railroaded me, and executor Sunday tort, torts to the beneficiary. I'll have your head. Judicial High Court review, I think so. Lord Chancellor, and etc." And it's their house, their game, their rules. It wins 9 times out of 10. The miscarriages of justice are committed. Failures, breaches, you're seeing it everywhere in all areas of life, news, all the institutions.
It's so deliberate though, isn't it? That's the thing that's the problem. It's so deliberate. I mean, there's no law followed today at all. I mean, none. Because they've had everything in writing. I challenged it under CPR 3.4A, which says that to get it struck out, so CPR 3.4A3 states that while the facts contained in the claimant's claim are coherent, they'd have no legal basis, then they're not legally relevant. So you can get it thrown out on those grounds alone. And there was nothing. I mean, the documents were absolutely ridiculous. Like I said, no dates, no signatures. 5-year-old could make up the stuff. And yeah, just ignored it all. Affidavits in, all of it, ignored all of it. So, and they were fuffling over one bit because there's 2 parties, and the solicitor didn't know why Geraldine wasn't on the possessions, why she wasn't brought to court as well. And I wish I'd have said, I only thought about it when you leave. That's the thing, isn't it? You only think of things when you're not in it. I wish I'd thought, if only, you could hear me in this hearing, I could offer some assistance. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to know under what authority exactly he decided your power of attorney was bullshit. I think
No,
his
it wasn't
chances.
that. It wasn't that. It wasn't. He said, I'm afraid your power of attorney doesn't grant you audience rights, which of course it doesn't. It doesn't need to. It's a power of attorney. And if I'd known what audience right was, I'd have said, you're correct, Your Honour, but it doesn't need to, because it's a power of attorney, which means I can deal with the affairs that we're here to do today. I'm not a lawyer, and audience rights is for lawyers, and I'm not stating I'm a lawyer. I'm the power of attorney. It's completely different. You're trying to misrepresent me.
Yeah.
Did you have that registered, Claire?
No, because you don't have to, Albert. It's been executed as a deed, and that's good enough as per the Powers of Attorney Act. You didn't have time. It takes weeks to do proper process, and I haven't had the time.
But if you'd started it, you would have been. Because for
again, I don't think it's
in my
anything
opinion,
to do with the
you
power of
can
attorney.
say that, yeah. But then when you're going up against these cartels, which what they are, they're in it for the currency. They're trying to fleece us dry.
Yeah.
So if you're not going to play by their rules, then do you know what I mean? You're fighting a losing battle, because they'll beat you down at every hurdle if you're not following what they want you to follow. Do you know? That's the way I see it.
Yeah,
I've been dabbling in it for ages, and that's why, look at Chrissy Morris. I don't think he wants to be a councillor, but he's got to be in it to win it. Do you know what I mean? So he's put himself on the line in that criteria as one of them, to coincide with them and object to certain things, because he's been granted that power, because he's slipped in with them, you know? And if you had that power of attorney registered, they have to listen to that. There's no ifs or buts. Do you know what I'm saying? So there's no escaping it.
Yeah.
That's the trouble, you see, when you're trying to fight them with certain things and knowing what that legislation, okay, power of attorney, I can grant power of attorney via verbal thing and stuff like that to anyone. But if you're going to have it hold ground or hold weight, then it has to be registered into the system. It has to run its due course, and it has to be noted. And then obviously you could have given across the registration number because you've submitted it and all that kind of thing, as in what they want you to do. But it would have put a spanner in the works, because it would have been authenticated by them, and then basically it would have been granted.
Yeah, but as
so they can't go against
just said, as per it was executed as a deed, as per so it would have satisfied. It would have been legally admissible, but they chose
Power
to
of Attorney
decide.
Act.
So here we've got so here we've got a legally admissible document that conforms and qualifies to what purport to be what it actually says it is, but it was denied the chance to be recognised by the eyes of the court, because let's look at it this way, like what I said to Claire. When you assign out a power of attorney, it revokes and rescinds all implied other powers of attorney that may be held by the state. So the state have got possibly, there's a strong belief, that if you're considered to be a public person, member of the general public, and for your straw man, your name, your artificial person, the state has for that employee, that citizen, employee of the corporation, certain rules it wants them, to follow and so forth, and that's what we've got to hold this establishment to, their rules and regulations and articles and ways that they manage it, so then we can learn to, we have learned to hold them to account there. So when you've got those implied constructive trusts, and you've then told them there's power of attorney, they've got first-hand knowledge of that by you expressing the correct trust titles, how it's dissolved effectively. When we talk about the Cess Decay and the Cess Decay V Acts from 1302 onwards, 1540, 1666 and 1707, and we look at the proclamations that have been made there, and the enforcement legislature for estates and being recovered and managed and moved on. You could see how relationships have got misconstrued, and how this whole system is legally operating but it's legally operating. And when you look at it through the eyes of law and the spirit of equity, it's immoral, unjust, unconscionable, and wrong. So there's like the dark side of law, which is public, common, civil, commercial, United Kingdom rules and policy, acts, statutes, legislation in this constitution for the dark lords. And then there's our law and the ways that you can look at possibly holding them to account and knowing your rights, and they're forcing through to win the day.
What do you think I should do then? You think I should appeal it, or?
Definitely contest and find out, and then you could look to have it looked at again. I don't think it'd cost any money to have it re-adjudicated, and you put down the points of why right back to the court and say what you've just said there, and it was legally permissible, and you believe that there's been an error within the process, and if there hasn't been an error, you would like to know why certain positions didn't play out. And then if that fails, then you've got the right to have, as an appellant, to appeal and go to an appellant court and have it re-adjudicated and looked at again by fresh eyes of the Crown. That's all you can do, really, and then see what a second opinion gets done.
Back in 2 weeks for that one, it was adjourned for that one. So back in 2 weeks. But again, they're circuit judges, aren't they? So it was a different one from last time.
Yeah, that don't help.
Well, I as well, I only say what I say because at the end of the day, the name is registered into the system. The name is what basically is the attachment of it, So when you are registering the power of attorney officially of the person, in the name, in the system, because even if you're talking about, someone's died, whatever, and you have to administer as it things, the accounts, you need a letter of administration from, because you're dealing with the estate, and then obviously the power of attorney that would lead into the estate, that's why I say it, Claire, not to, because God, I hate the government teetotal for the way that how they've set things up and twisted shit all in their favour. We are just slaves to the system, and it's getting worse by the day.
The other thing as well,
currency
Albert,
is losing the value.
Like I said, it's the time and it's the finances. You've got to pay for it, and I'm paying for the solicitors at the moment, and I don't have the free funds to do it because Vincent's not working, not doing anything. So it's been a tough one to kind of
legal aid. Certain remits you'll get, so
that's what it's there for.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You should get some help.
Thank you.
Yeah, you should be able to get some help with that.
Yeah, there's certain criteria or whatever and all that on earnings, and I think literally if you're not taking like 1,000 or 1,500 quid a month, then you'll get legal aid. So
pretty straightforward process. Use it. Don't get into debt.
I know the other thing as well, though.
Debt.
I mean,
who's in debt now, Kevin?
No, you're not. Debt. I know, Albert. You know what I mean.
It's all fictitious. Yeah, I know what you mean. Because even the debt, but they need the debt to back the currency. Yeah. Without any debt, because their debt is put on our heads.
Yeah.
The other thing as well, though, like with the N244 that I didn't fill out their forms because there's boxes on boxes and boxes. So I thought I refuse. I'm not doing that because I know that that's not right. So I wrote my own and sent it in as such.
But it won't work.
Well, it would have if I paid. They would have taken it, but if I paid. Vincent hadn't been signed on long enough, you see, so they wouldn't accept when they rang the DWP to check, there wasn't a record of him because he hasn't been on the system long enough, so they wouldn't do it. So I could have done it, they would have taken it, but I had to pay that afternoon, and it was £275. So
Should have
Yeah,
just stapled your paperwork to the N244, but not filled out anything on the N244. Attach it together and then pay the fee. Stick it in.
I've had them reject all that. You start like diverting from their boxes because they want to take that letter, they want to slap it into the computer.
Yeah.
They don't want little work to do. And that's why they tell you to put it in and all these signatures, all that kind of thing. Same as the driving license. Your signature, when you sign it, they take the photocopy of that and it gets put on the license as such.
Yeah.
That's what they do.
I
Just
also
electronic
use
stuff.
I also use the language fraud angle. So again, I can't really be putting out language fraud and then doing it in their, reading it in their stuff and answering their questions if it's written in a format I've said I can't read. It's a bit.
That's it. You're not compass mentis.
Anyway.
It is hard. They're not. You know, you've got to remember these fuckers know more of these get through and it gets out. It's, you know, this game, it's a big loss for them. So this is why they fight hard and hold them gates shut. The bastards.
Yeah. I honestly think the pound notes and the dollars and whatever, it's getting so weak that I don't know. Yeah, where's it going to stop? Like with price hikes and debasement of the food products that you're getting for your dough, it's just ludicrous, you know.
Madness, isn't it? It's spiraling out of control.
Yeah, well, you know, it's because they're debasing the product that you're getting.
Yeah.
Instead of debasing the currency, they're making out that everything's rosily and, you know, this is your exchange rates, all that, you know. Although that's bottomed out a bit for what we used to get to the Great Britain pound for the dollar. But now, who knows, like, because even on a packet of crisps, like the other day, like 20 grams, like, it's like 4 or 5 crisps. Like, is
it's
it really
mad,
worth
isn't it?
Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
It's mad what they've gone down to now. Sweets and everything.
Yeah. It's just crazy. Yeah. And everyone's just like, well, the majority is just like cracking on.
Yeah. And we're all paying more and getting less.
Yeah. And then soon what will happen because of that? And even they've hiked the interest rate Fed as well, the base rate. So soon there's depression's going to hit.
Yeah.
Because there's not a flow of currency to sustain the amount of living that has to be done. Yeah.
That's why they're kicking up war.
Yeah. That's when like people will be starving big time.
Yeah. I can't say, well, we've all known the bullshit for a long time. And none of us have fallen over going, I'm so surprised this is happening. You know, really.
No, yeah. But I think it's going to get worse.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
Even that, though, just jumping back to what Claire said, 240 odd quid or whatever, just to register a few bits of papers and registration, whatever. Yeah. It's probably a few clicks in the mouse. So how can they justify like 240 odd? You know, it's just ridiculous. Yeah.
Well, as you say, this is why they want you to fill their forms out. So they drop them in the computer. Oh, and there's bits in this and bits in that. That goes through. Take the fee. That's probably how, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Crazy.
All administering you.
Well, this is what they do. I mean, obviously, in some cases, it is prohibitively expensive for some people. You know, you earn a quid too much, and now you've got to pay all this money out, and it can get expensive. You know.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Totally.
Yeah. Absolutely. Say, as we know, it's all done on purpose. They want it, you know, as much obstruction to you being able to tackle the process as possible.
Yeah.
And then you got to deal with
While
arrogant
complicating
twats.
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, you know, you go into the fucking den, the lion's den with the bastards, and soon as you show a bit of fucking competence, that's it. They'll lose the plot. Start getting shirty and fucking, you know, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, even if you try and take them on, yeah.
Yeah.
I've done it recently, and I've, like, you know, the case was held without me there. You know,
Yeah.
I brought a thing on the agent, an enforcement agent, and yeah, they dealt with the course and found him. What was it? A proper or competent person, whatever. Yeah, fit person, and send me the letter. And lo and behold, like, now I think it's like, and I haven't done it. I've been thinking about it, but private prosecution, because out of it on their court letter, they've sent the enforcement agent's address to me.
Yeah, you got him. Of course, he's a fit and proper person, though, isn't he? Because he's in their fictitious realm.
Yeah. But it was all done without me present. I never got an invite or anything, all that. So where was they getting their information from? Yeah. I was the one that brought it, all the complaint and whatever and stuff like that. And even in my thing was basically about them. How can I put this? Like, basically usurping the rights that I have inherent. And basically it is because they're running the name through the system administratively and finding me liable for whatever, you know. And at the end of the day, like, it could be fictitious, administrative, do you know what I mean? Which it all is. But how do they, like, know I've got this dough? Or it's all about creating the debt more than hearing what's gone on or stuff like that. It's just crazy, the whole system. If you try and fight it, you'll be banging your head against the wall big time.
Yeah, it's frustrating.
See, I reckon for mine, it's because in some of it, I was a woman, and, you know, I made reference to not being limited, just the, you know, man-woman reference. So, of course, they can't hear me in the underworld, can they? Because I'm living and they's dead.
That's why you've got to file your paperwork, because obviously the dead, you know, can't speak,
file it. They didn't take the notes of it. He wouldn't read any of it. He's illiterate as well, isn't he?
File what, with the court and them?
Yeah.
Well, then that's a breach of process then, straight away, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because if you filed your paperwork and a copy was sent to them, well, you, in theory, like, when you bring a claim or counterclaim, if that's what you've done, or, you know, because obviously filing the paperwork, it should be in, like, and then the court, if you're bringing the claim, would obviously distribute the paperwork. So you would send the court a few copies to authenticate it and then send it on, you know?
Yeah, but no, I mean, again, time-wise, though, there's certain time frames, haven't they, as per their civil procedure rules, you need to get things in. And because I was brought in so late in the day, I hadn't got round to posting everything in. Like, I think it's about a week before that they need to have it in. It was all, some of it was, but not all of it, so.
Right. If you do stuff like that, then the other side wins by default. So it's a hard game to play if you're not on the ball. Like,
well, it is when you're late to the table, definitely.
Yeah.
But we got some comments from people, and someone's asked for us to reply to the comments, so I'm just going to have a look through.
All right. Yeah. Remember that for anybody to be guilty of a crime, what actually a crime is, and it involves having a victim and an injured party. So the way they use the terminology is the injured party. Yeah, and they treat injuries as not non-physical injuries, financially injured. Who is the victim? The state is the victim. The state is a corporation, so nobody's really deemed guilty unless in a court of law, proper law, not commercial, corporate code. but the common law of England and Wales, and we have to look at rights, enforcement of rights, what's going on, what jurisdiction the court lies in at the moment, civil, administrative. We got Halsbury's references to back things up, not so much old common law and Magna Carta references and constitutional, but the argumentations, and they play tricks as well, which is you shouldn't be moving people last minute in cases which are talking hundreds of thousands of pounds and are highly sensitive, complex. Shouldn't be doing that at all. You should be doing it methodically, giving everybody equal chance to present their side of the story. But these things aren't always honoured, as you've just pointed out there. So then processes
So
aren't
he made
followed.
reference to it. He made reference to the paperwork, but yeah, wouldn't hear it again, just because they couldn't, though. They couldn't, because I annihilated every point that they had. I annihilated all of it with case law and legislation and stuff, and challenged the jurisdiction. So they had to try and get rid of me, didn't they, really? Because otherwise they'd have had to produce the goodies.
Yeah, with power of attorney recognised, you've got the ability to speak on behalf and manage the legal affairs of the estate named and concerned as, and what is under the power of attorney. Then you can also present and self-present, or as they call it, represent. Not always do you need, look, think of a magistrate scenario when you go in on your own, or you have gone in on your own, or you've seen people go in. They don't say, in order to deal and fine you for non-payment of council tax, you must have a legal attorney. When you've got a money claim issue with somebody, there's certain parameters of English law to go down to file a money claim, but these claims aren't always done.
Well, the claimant wasn't even there. It's just a solicitor, and it isn't even the solicitors that are dealing with it. It's some other bunch of people that they've just hired in for the day, for the job. It's been a different one each time. And the two solicitors that were there today worked for the same company on two, and so the same company dealt with two different cases. It's just crazy. But it's fine. It's adjourned for 2 weeks. I've got 2 weeks to prepare to go back to fight that one, and the other one's 8 weeks. So before they try and claim it properly.
Did you find that question? By the way.
Which question? Oh, yeah, sorry, yes. So we've got
In the comments.
Fantastic
Points, though, David. Yeah, fantastic points. What Claire needs is you beside her next time she goes back in 2 weeks and slap them books down on the table. Let's have it.
I even took my Bible, and I even said, let no man deceive ye. Yeah. It was a good experience.
Were there men in the room?
Yeah. Right, where are we? I can't remember who we read before. Let's go through.
I'll go and have a look. Jesus Jones, I'll say hey, welcome to my 44th birthday celebration. The topic on life, subjects of life, essence, incarnation, matters of public concern of which we should all be privy to, the dangers of words specifically.
Evening to everybody in the room. Didn't mean to come back a while ago and give you all a shout.
Paul was saying about spell checker, and interestingly, in Word, see again, this is another thing with the language fraud. If you make a spelling mistake in all capital letters in Word, it doesn't tell you it's a mistake because it's not programmed, because it's not English. Did you know that?
Yeah.
So it's
You're gone quiet.
Yeah, I need to get my glasses.
You're welcome, Stephen. He's staying in the chat room. Thank you, Jonesy. Much love.
Steve, JJ.
Hey, Brian, yeah. No right to audience, no right to act or make a performance.
But you weren't in a play, or were you?
Performance, yes. You could have
put out your
accepted.
equity card. That's what you needed to. You're at Actors Guild equity. You whip that out, and then you'd have been allowed on the stage, and everybody else would have probably left.
It is plausible as a last resort to satisfy the requirements of the court in order to proceed, to say that the duty solicitor will be accepted, but they are to take direction and they can act under direction. So then you've got the prerequisite of the legal counsel on the one that's managing the legal claims, the representative, or and you've got them. Kevin, you've got some experience with that.
It was only no, it wasn't. It was a citizens' advice bloke. That's what they kept offering.
Another member of the bar.
Advice, and I was like, no, thank you.
So how is somebody that's a member of an organisation legally recognised and?
They're all solicitors, aren't they, CAB?
Yeah, but still, it's.
Well, it's bar, isn't it? It's bar again.
So we
It's the
look
men's club, yep, in the club. Oh, and they bow going in. That was funny, watching them bow to the judge, thinking you absolute dicks.
Yeah, acknowledging his jurisdiction, like what you do to a king or something as a subject. Acknowledgement or rise is the alternative, isn't it? They would bow rise, maybe bow rise, and then bow. But it's just the occult, the Saturnalia madness of it. Their society, their rules, isn't it? But
crazy.
What else we got to look at?
I was just looking through the Cayman's going to Rwanda. That sounds interesting.
Thank you, Bern.
Oh yeah, Bernie, I see you in there, mate. Hope you're all right.
I see it's busy in the chat there. We've got some questions. We'll take some questions or we'll look at wrapping up soon then. Thank you for your time and company. We've got a topic to talk about, a scenario or anything you want to get off your chest or you think's relevant.
You did just pose a question to me. I can't remember what you was asked. Is that experience of?
Take a solicitor taking a court.
Oh yeah.
Direction.
Oh yeah, that was Graham and I on funny enough a mortgage issue, and yeah, we went to, was it Wandsworth or something, court, and we got speaking to the duty solicitor, girl called Emma. She was really nice, and we sat down with her and this other guy, David Irving, his name was, who was like an advocate, been at that court for 40 odd years, and he was sat in the room as well. Anyway, we told her what was going on, and she was right up for it. So she sort of went in with Graham and presented stuff, but yeah, they do. She absolutely acted under direction, no deviation from it. She was like the duty solicitor, disabled girl. She was really sweet girl. So yeah, if you can get one, but that's what you're meant to do. Don't let them do it for you. Direct them. I want this done, that done, but you might see them squirming a lot. I don't like it.
Yeah, that's it. It's
if you know what you're talking about, you're dangerous. You know more than them. Most of you in here know more than any of them briefs and that. They haven't got a clue. Not a clue.
Not always
Rumblings
quite
round
enough,
them.
though, is it? In the moment, unless you've been. I think give me a few more times. If I had practice like a few more runs, I probably would nail it.
Well, this is the
It's
thing.
only the second time I've ever been in front of a judge, so I'm just winging
That's
it.
the thing. How do you practice this shit without being
Well, I might
in the
volunteer
shit?
my services. Anybody going to court? You'd like someone to help? I do really good notice writing.
Yeah, I think
And I'll come and practice in front of the judge for you.
I think you've got to appeal, and you've got to have a look at the grounds. Him claiming you don't have right to all that. I think you need to delve into that. I don't think he had the right to do that at all. Personally, I think he's just done that as a fuck you off move, if you know what I mean.
Oh, hi, Stephen's in the group. Yeah. Jerry.
Just watch out for the servants of the black robed devil in the play, which is Satan's carnival, looking to feed on the low-hanging fruit. No man should be imprisoned for issues of money, civil, administrative.
Even the solicitor. So they send you into the room with the solicitor first, don't they? And I know we can refuse, but again, it's all quite interesting for me to see how it works. So I went in to discuss stuff, and he laughed at me. He literally laughed at me when I said that there's no proof of assignment. So this, anyone could write this. It's fraudulent. If there's no proof, then there's no valid claim. And he started laughing. Yeah, that's not going to hold. Pompous prick.
Well, that's because they're not going to let it hold. That's why it's not going to hold. It's simple as that.
Not
They
because
know
of
they're
argument.
screwed. No, it's not because it doesn't stand. It's because they ain't going to let it stand.
And he was challenging something.
He doesn't know no better. He's an idiot anyway himself.
By the principles of general accounting, it would be adequate to provide it. If I'm just under financial regulations, accounting regulations, proof of claim regulations, third parties stepping in, claiming to have interest and rights and titles. Who are you? What's your name and where are you from? Let's see your details. That's only just right and proper. And if people aren't willing to follow those obligations to prove their claim, then that would raise eyebrows. Surely not.
And I said, I can't remember what it was I said, but I did challenge it. And I said, well, I guess he said no to something. I said, well, I guess it depends on the jurisdiction, doesn't it? And the stupid twat come back with, well, it's England and Wales jurisdiction, isn't it? We live in England and Wales. And I'm thinking, I didn't mean where we live. That's not jurisdiction necessarily.
Claire, what was it that the judge was telling you, and then you said, okay, I do that under duress?
Well, I either shut up or he was going to throw me out. And I said, under what authority do you think you have to refuse power of attorney that's been, assigned properly? And he said, we're not doing this tossing back and forth or something. You can either sort of be here as a member of the public, or if you keep speaking up, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. Is that okay? And I said, no, not really, but I don't have a choice because I need to be here. So I will do that under duress.
Cheeky git.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, certain circumstances you could say, if you was defending claim, you could say, I haven't given you authority, you don't have any authority or power or jurisdiction, inherent authority and jurisdiction over I, David. You do my person, whose commercial body I've got with me here today. And I'd warn anybody that if they was to physically use force to remove me from the venue, then they would be liable for damages, and that there is no authority. So the way that they get jurisdiction over us is for us to claim the name and become the citizen, the employee of the state. And in some circumstances, we look at fiduciary capacities within the trust and the judge, the bankers, the referee's position as the referee. and the banker. So we can look to try to temporarily make them fiduciary. Is a position where a trustee owes a duty and an obligation to look after the beneficiary of a trust. So a fiduciary capacity of a judge is to look after the beneficiary. So if you can look at the way that you would try to make the estate that's being talked about, your artificial person, is there going to be, the judge would be appointed trustee to look after this estate while you check the claimant's validity claim. And that's why they don't want you to learn, they don't want us to learn the tricks, the procedures, the rules, the due process, the shields that you can put up to stop certain actions or impending legal actions or fine, fees and forfeitures being applied, which is why we talk about conditional acceptance and honour and clean hands, and how to accept, and the dangers of all the different forms of acceptance that you've got.
So the solicitor also said about submission or something. I said I won't be submitting to anything. And the other solicitor kept saying, in your defence, you know, your written defence, I said, we haven't defended. We haven't provided a defence. We provided a counterclaim and requested proof of claim. And he kept going back to it. So 3 times I had to correct him, and then he wrote something different down in his book. Yeah.
That's why they've adjourned then, because they haven't made any final decisions, motions to seek.
No, it's because they didn't know that, because Geraldine was on the mortgage, mother-in-law, and she's passed away. They didn't know. So the judge knew that she'd passed away because he's privy to the other case. So he was asking questions to try and get the other one up to speed, because the other one didn't have a clue, didn't know. They only had Vince down. They couldn't administer it. So that's why they had to adjourn it. But it's interesting watching the judge and their little nods and stuff, and, you know, trying to sort of encourage with open questions and that. So, well, why have you just put one person when there's 2 persons on the mortgage? There must be a reason, and I need that reason. Do you know what that reason is? You know, like, come on, give it to me, otherwise I can't move.
Yep.
Maybe they need someone there with a letter of administration, because obviously deceased, so it's an estate. So someone would obviously hold, you know, if it's a daughter, or, you know, they would hold the power. So, and that's his mum, isn't it? So he would hold the power.
Yeah.
So there's titles and rights and ownership and possible trusts or protections of property, multiple owners, title rights, but it's still the equitable title lies within the mortgage, or doesn't it? And the mortgagee has the legal title. So as much as you can argue till we're blue in the face, you know, you've got to look at who holds the cards here, and what position and titles are rights. And at the minute, well,
actually, it even says in the legislation that equitable right trumps is the highest. I've even put that in one of my latest notices. Equitable rights wins. So
but then to deflate the balloon, the rules of equity are that the first in time is first in line. Let's get it right. And there are rules who takes the equitable upper hand within 2 parties, and so one party gets awarded the equitable area of law, and then that will ultimately win because they've chosen it first as well. So
this is how crazy it is. So the evidence that they're relying on, there's no money, no figures on any of it, nothing. It's just what's been uploaded to the land registry. There's no mention of money. On the alleged mortgage deed, it says that they'll agree to pay the money on 0.21 of the mortgage conditions, and you go to them and there's nothing there. There's no sum certain, no figures of nothing. Honestly, it's so criminal how they can just get away with robbing people of their homes. Sick. It is really sick. But yeah, if anybody needs help with challenging a mortgage, if they've got a mortgage, ping me a message in SPLS. I have all of the legislation.
There are two main ways that an economy creates money. One is the Bank of England, and they sell it to government, and that's strictly like paper bundles, wedges, you know, printing off the printing press, the paper formats to put into the banks or to the bank money cash machines, ATMs. And then the other way that money is created is by the banks having remit to create credit with regards to future security interest, because the way that the banks work and the economies work for credit creation is different to money creation, but they both form the capital and injection liquidity for the economy. And banks are basically using the instruments that we've seen and come to know of as which are involved in the process, application and granting of a mortgage, and turning future security instruments and promises to pay oneself back after giving life and energy to a document and an instrument, and then it being sold as a debt for a debt to make more debt. It's just absolutely fantastically insane when we say Satan's carnival. It's so opposite to logic and anti-nature, and always in the negative areas. It gets quite comical after a bit. Oh, look at them cheeky Romans at it again. They just couldn't resist it. Aren't they naughty? You know, it's the anger kinds of goes, and it just you just see that the banks have so much control to create the liquidity. All those mortgages and bank loans and credit cards that are given to people rely on the digital side of it. So you've got the physical side coming from the Bank of England to the government, and then you've got the digital credit creation, thus creating the economy, the truth about money. And the fact that it's about time we, the people, started to create our credits and manage charges and look to discharge charges and not add to the national debt of the way that this fiat fiscal system is created, that seems to govern our life, that we're all chasing. There's got to be a better way to exist privately, and that's obviously what Bitcoin looked like it was going to be until it became an industry regulated financial instrument, and therefore it's just another private avenue gone down the drain. But
another issue though with what they've got is so because this has been sold. So ordinarily under common law you've got privity of contract. So if somebody's not party to the contract, then they can't do anything. That's the privity of contract. So they brought in Third Party Rights Act in 19 something or other, but that act says that things can be transferred and assigned so the third parties have rights, but it's not on promissory notes, something else, and negotiable instruments. So a mortgage note is a promissory note. That's how they can put it on the securities in exchange, because it's a promise to pay, like a £5 note, your signature. So the third party rights don't apply because they're not allowed to use it, because it's a negotiable instrument. So that's another place where it all falls apart, which was in my latest notice that I've got to send off actually.
Keep slinging it at them.
Notice how little money the government had for increases in nurses' pay and managing the economy and helping people out with council tax and rising utility bills, but yet it's sending millions and billions across in foreign aid when there's a war coming on. All nation states that are broke and in debt heavily are managed to find a war budget to send millions and billions out and weapons and arms. And I just sit back and think, why don't we do that for every country that needs help? Why are some countries more special than others? Why do the United Nations and Russia and Ukraine, what's the possible agendas here, and treaties being broken and the United Nations expanding eastwards? There's lots of little things that I found, watching the narrative, the mainstream recently, and I think, did we all forget that we went to war as well as a nation state with Tony Blair and had an illegal war? And it's just it seems that there's no answering to authority or taking liability. People seem to be not just in positions and playing the positions badly and breaking the rules, but they seem to be now at a time like watching porn whilst at work in the Houses of Commons, and the claims, just some of them, it's like everything's gone to shit really bad, hasn't it? And it couldn't be, it's like they're just going all day, every day, we know we're shit, we know we're bad, and we're going to stay here, we're going to carry on, and you're going to love it. And it just get to the point some days where I just think, I need to escape fast, beam me up somewhere, come take me away.
It's just degenerating, isn't it? I mean, across the board, everything's going downhill. Even the elites are fucking getting stupid, if you see what I mean. Everything. Fucking hell. Excuse my French.
They're still controlled, those elites, though, aren't they? That's why they wear collars and ties. You know, it's still symbolic slavery, isn't it, for them? So whoever their masters are. But yeah, here's one. Law of Property Act, Section 136 states any absolute assignment by writing under the hand of the assigner, not purporting to be by way of charge only, and on the land registry it says that they're charge only, of any debt or other legal thing in action of which express notice in writing has been given to the debtor, trustee, blah, blah, from whom the assigner would have been entitled to claim such debt or thing in action, is effectual in law, subject to equities having priority over the right of the assignee to pass and transfer from the date of this notice. So it's saying there that the assignees who've been assigned it don't have, you know, the equitable right is higher.
Yeah, so any paperwork that contains authority, signature, autograph is your instrument. You own it. It's got your signature on it, your person's signature, your, you know, estate signature. It's got the creditor's signature then, the creator. So those that create it own it as well, because it's been created by that. It's also owned by, and there are security instruments of a future financial interest. So future. They're enabled on the markets and financial systems. This is only for Max Kaiser when I used to watch him back in the day, but and Professor Richard Werner, security instruments, security interest, future security interests, and you've got the rights and titles to all of that, and that's based on the credit creation system. But if you want to get down to the nitty gritty, there's proof and evidence is out there at law, and probably case law references. You know, I thought this one of these principles, alongside the indemnification from land registry, and also paperwork not being signed in the presence of witnesses and being sent through the post, and lots of little loopholes and technicalities and truths and realities, that no bank ever lends any money to anybody. It creates an amount of credit and creates credit and lends that to people. But the only way the bank can create credit is if you create an instrument and give life to that credit, charge it, and charge it by, you know, giving it life is such by the bank charging, you know, and it all works in these weird terms of electricity.
And you can't do that. You can't put a mortgage on unless you own the house already. Can't put a charge on unless you own it.
Well, there's charging orders, there's equitable notice charge, you know, of an order from a court for sales and so forth, but there's only one title of equity, which would be the bank putting the charge on at the point of the new mortgage being given, which is the bank first in time, first in line. Always equitable title, and the mortgagee trustee only holds legal title till the mortgage is paid off, so you could never win with regards to using equity, because the bank is timeline and meets that, so they win 9 times out of 10 in that instance.
Just looking at some of the comments about third party. Where is it? Breach of contract opens the door to the third party. No, you don't need to have breach of contract. It's in their alleged terms and conditions. But again, there's a thing called Unfair Contracts Act 1999 that says a contract needs to be equally negotiated. So because the terms and conditions are pre-printed, they haven't been negotiated between the parties, so they're classed as unfair terms. and not necessarily reliant on. The fact, like, there's a power of attorney clause in mortgage conditions. I don't know if people know that. And they can do anything with whatever they want. So that's how they can sell it, make money on it, make a profit on it. Now, under the Law of Property Act for mortgages, when it comes to possessions, the mortgagee, which is the lender, the alleged lender, the bank, have to notify you of possession, okay, which they do. But they're also meant to notify you if there's any rents and profit made from the mortgage. So when they securitize it and sell it on, they make profits. They're meant to notify you, and they don't. Because again, another term in the condition then says that they don't have to tell you what they're using the money from. And they appoint an attorney, they appoint a receiver, and they do all of these other things, which is actually what you're paying for, because you're not paying for the loan, because you didn't borrow anything like you were saying, David. You don't pay for that. You're paying for all these shoddy services that you don't actually need. And you're liable. It says in there that you're liable for whatever they do for you that you don't know that they're doing. You are still liable. Honestly, it's the biggest load of shit I've ever read. Crazy, crazy.
And in different mortgages in different parts of the world, sometimes those solicitors take powers of attorney as well. Interesting note to check there. Not all continents and land masses, but it has been put out into the domain for consideration. And why they would need powers of attorney, but just an interesting point to note, yeah. And
oh, Stephen, that's awful. Just in Stephen's comment about a homeless old man. Yeah, this world needs a good shake-up.
Yeah, we should look at how to effectively give energy credits to one another and manage on a more ecological balanced scale. It's not man that's destroying the planet, it's corporations running this corporate law, this maritime admiralty, commercial law of the sea running on the land, law, legislation, again, laws of commercial, public, civil natures, looking at what we've got playing, out there. It's companies that are killing rainforests and polluting things and picking palm oil and dumping plastic in the sea. It's in the name of commerce. It's seldom the private man that is causing, damage to this environment of ours. And it's well,
yeah, it's right, because we don't have control over what packaging they use for the food. We haven't got little butchers and local grocers anymore that we go to, have we? It's all pre-packaged crap in the supermarkets. We don't have any control over that, where it's made, where it comes from.
No, there are certain choices you can make, but not a lot. And it's just it's just being aware of what we're facing and the reality of it. On this journey you go through phases of acceptance, denial, rejection, and then again acceptance, I suppose, and you work out what you're truly facing and how it's run and the dishonour that you face. It's hard not to be vexated by the tricks and the non-direct soft war that we're going through. Warfare has changed, and commerce, these people think that in commerce all's fair in love and war. They come up with these sayings, principles, axioms of their societies that they learn to just look at us as cannon fodder for food, fuel for the machine. And there are a few that profit off the many. And it's just getting to the point of we've recognised most of the oligarchs and their orchestrated institutions of finance, education, money, religion, debt, banking, law, codified law, courts. The New World Order has more than well established its feet, and we're getting told every day on the mainstream narrative, about resets, grand resets, cyclical resets, North Pole, resets, solar resets. We had the 2020, didn't we? Celestial alignment resets. We got calendars telling us. So it does seem to me that the nature of the universe is saying, yeah, reset. The word reset has been shouted out for too long as an echo in the cosmos and the flux fields of modality. But what we actually let that reset to, I think, is what's in the balance right now. The
But again, is it a
erosion.
reset back to Set, the Egyptian god who was the evil bastard? Or is it, do you know, again, it's all in the words. Is it reset? Is that the right word? Is it?
Yeah.
That's where we're going.
Just don't take it too seriously and always look on the bright side of life. It's impossible not to whistle. Well done.
Shane asked if I asked the judge if he was under his oath. I didn't even get that far, Shane, because we got caught up in whether I was actually going to be allowed to speak. And Paul, yeah, if you're in Telegram on SPLs, ping me a message. I've got an interesting scenario. Yeah, ping me a message and I'll happily share my 2 months worth of knowledge I've gained with trying to fight this system.
Still fighting. It ain't over. It's not over yet.
No. I think I need to decide as well whether we let the sale go through and then I take proper claims to Chancery, and I'm going to need the house sale money to do the claim in Chancery and do it that way, or if I still fight before it's possessed. I think that's I don't want to jeopardize the buyers, you see. That's I think the thing why I didn't push too much with the judge today, because I still need to play things relatively careful, because we'll make more money with us doing the sale than if they steal it and do it. So it's a fine line with that balance. If it was just me and I didn't have to worry about it was actually, the ex's house and I'm doing it for him, I would have handled it differently. I would have gone in all.
Yep. And I want to say, maybe I'm going to come to England to that meeting on the 27th.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because
who invited you? Who invited you?
50 euros.
Hey,
Is that it?
Anders.
Yep.
What's on the 27th?
Yeah, that's a secret.
The prodigal return of Christ performing Champagne Enema.
Oh, poor Claire. She's so curious now. Yeah.
It is frustrating because I don't always get people's nuances of, whether they're taking the piss or being serious. I really do struggle. My quirky brain doesn't always pick that up. So yeah, I'm open to be ridiculed or set up for something I don't quite follow.
Yeah.
Check that date though, Anders. Yeah.
What?
Check the date. Because in my brain it's not sitting well, the 28th.
No, but
you may be right, but I don't know why I'm doubting it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I got the 23rd in my head.
23rd? Ah, okay. Yeah, I have to go back and check it. Okay.
Yeah, we're going to look at wrapping up. It's been 2.5 hours, fam. Lots of love to you all, and thank you again for having this birthday evening chat with the channel and scribes.
Come on, lad. Come on, brothers. Are you going to sing happy birthday to Brother David?
Fuck off.
Let me just interrupt. Yeah, Anders, I think you're right, mate. The 28th, yeah?
Good.
28th. It's the 28th.
Yeah. Rack up the beer.
Yeah, I apologise.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the 28th for sure.
Well, good night, everybody.
Good night,
Night,
everybody.
night, Jim Bob.
And thank you, David, for everything you've been doing.
Yeah, happy birthday, David.
Yeah.
Born day.
Bless you.
Oh, is it your born day, is it? Didn't know
Yeah.
that. Oh.
Right,
double fours today, Albert.
You got to sing it now, Albert. You got to sing happy birthday because you missed it.
Well, happy birthday. No. Well, no, happy born day, isn't it?
Happy. Anders sung it to me. We're all good. Take care.
Yeah.
Doing what you're
doing.
You
don't want me singing.
Much love, everybody listening. See you all soon.
Albert, what time are you getting in approx in the week?
I'm not sure, mate. I'm pretty busy, so
All
just ping us and yeah.
All right, mate. No worries. Yeah.
No worries. Yeah.
All right.
Speak soon.
Nice to speak to you, mate. Yeah, we will.
Yeah.
I know we keep fucking saying that, but
yeah,
we're so. Yeah, will.
I'm flying in and out, so I'm about.
All right. Well, I can always give you a text and see what's going on.
I'm in the background, you know.
Yeah, mate. I know. It's all good.
Like a chameleon.
Good to speak to you.
Like Randall from Monsters Inc.
We need to do more. We need to start kicking off. Because these lot, they've upped their game, you know, and the currency is debasing itself big time. So
yeah, we've got a strike soon, if you know what I mean. It's certainly, we need more meetings. We need more people coming together. Seem to be getting there, but there's nothing definitive. Yeah, a lot more chats.
Yeah.
Need more time.
Getting it out there.
Yeah.
More resources and more time, as well. On
some more days in the week. Some more hours in each day. That'll help us.
Let's blow this joint. Thank you.
All right. Love to everybody. Anders, see you soon. Claire, see you soon.
Yeah,
Albert,
lots of love, Kevin. Mate. Nice to see you, brother.
Yeah, no worries.
Take care.
Thank you, Anders, Claire, Kevin.
Cheers, Anders.
Nightle.
Bless up. Bless
up.
Catch you tomorrow, mate, or something.
Thank you. Ciao, bello.
Happy Born Day.